We are live.
Hello, everyone, to this 2 weeks IPLD sync meeting. It's October the 11th, 2021. And as every 2 weeks, we go over the stuff that we've worked on or will work on and then discuss any open questions. So I don't have anything to report. So I hand over to Eric.
Okay, so I've got some fun news from the Golang world. I'll put the bigger thing first, I guess. I've been kicking around on making a CLI tool for a while. This is something that you can now see and follow along on the progress, even if it's early, because it has got a new GitHub repo. It's in github.com/IPLD/go-IPLD tool. More creative name maybe coming in the future, but naming is, as everyone knows, hard. So the aim of this is to make the easiest way to explain it is if you know what JQ is, trying to do that. I want to create a JQ-like sort of tool, something that brings joy, something that you can use in a playful, exploratory way in your shell or some environment like that. Maybe we'll give it additional, give it a REST API in the future. I don't know. For now, starting with a CLI, trying to make it playful. So this is coming along slowly but surely. I'm doing a lot of really heavy test infrastructure work on laying the ground. So it's using the test mark system. There's markdown files with outlines of the commands, and those actually get run as commands, and then it asserts on their output. And so it's a fun way to develop. But it's coming along pretty slowly because I'm dragging other features out of the Go libraries as I suddenly directly encounter the need. So it's going slowly, but it's good in that it's driving other work as well. So one of the things that it drove in this last week is I've had to take a revisit to the way that storage APIs work in the Golang libraries. So that was fun. A little bit of review of history first. In GoIPLD Prime, we have this concept called link system, which gives you high-level methods like load and store, where you take a node and a link prototype, which basically says what multi-codec to use and what multi-hash and stuff. And then it does the thing. And you can configure these using some callbacks called block read opener and block write opener, and they sort of worked and it was sort of fine. But nothing implemented that interface directly. It was very much not batteries included. You really had to bring your own. And none of the other stuff in our ecosystem historically really fit together with that. So it was not fun. The amount of duct tape you had to roll was not fun. And also because those interfaces used a couple of concrete types from GoIPLD Prime, you couldn't implement them without importing part of that repo, which was just it was possible, but it wasn't fun. So that was one thing we had historically that wasn't great. Now, the other thing we had historically that's even older is the whole generation of repos that were called, you know what, I don't remember. The one that seems to me was the most important was called go-data store from the IPFS repo group on GitHub. That was the thing that actually mattered, that people would actually implement things around. So the FlatFS file store, the Badger file store, and all those other things, those were all implementing the Go data store APIs. So those APIs, well, they showed their age. They were written a really long time ago in Golang terms. They predate the invention of this thing called context, which is just ubiquitous in Golang now. And if you have an API that doesn't use it, you're basically doing it wrong at this point. And a bunch of other more detailed issues that I've written up in a PR, and I won't go through in real time, but there's 14 things that I've been able to improve on since then. So now we have, the other problem with the old Go data store was similar to what I accidentally did in the last round of GoIPLD Prime stuff, which was it used a couple of very concrete types. So if you wanted to implement it, you had to like touch this dependency tree and you could not escape it. So one of the big things I'm trying to fix now in this new API is the new API can be implemented using only Golang standard library types. So there's no dependency tangles. It should be easy to implement. The whole thing is designed to be feature detection heavy. So we can have the most basic features be the core set so you can implement it easily. And then we'll be able to extend things from there. And so it's also using this pattern of there's a couple of functions in the library that will do higher level operations, and those will probe for what interfaces it can find on the new storage system. And if it can find fast paths and things that are powerful, it will use them. And if it can't, it'll just synthesize that feature out of the lower level primitives. So there's a big PR about that. It's not as big as I thought, actually, but possibly pretty momentous. So the more eyes it gets, the better. It also has batteries included bridges to all this stuff now for the first time. So if you're some downstream user who doesn't care about any of the architectural things I just said, still good news. There's actually batteries included for bridging stuff together this time. So if you have Go data store code from who knows how many years ago, and you want to bridge it into the new storage system, that's a one-liner now, finally. So hopefully this is good. Reviews welcome. Link in doc. That's it for me.
Thank you. So next on the list is Rod.
Hey, and hey, Chris. Long time no see.
Hey guys.
It's my time has been largely a lot of time spent in Lotus Filecoin with car and selector work. There's a release coming out, and there's a lot of stuff that touches selectors and cars and stuff in there. Very interesting work, probably worth discussing more at some point. But there's more to do there. But yeah, anyway, I have been trying to get deeper into GraphSync. Is Chris maybe interested? Just because we've really got one person that knows all of GraphSync and it doesn't really scale. So Hannah has got a lot of other things to do, and but GraphSync keeps on being a very needy child. So trying to be useful there, get my head around it. And so chewing off a couple of sort of lower risk PRs, issues, to-dos to learn it while I'm going. Also, you know, really having to exercise my Go muscles, which are not very strong. So also doing a lot of learning that way too, because there's a lot of advanced Go in GraphSync. A lot of heavy Go routines, a lot of heavy channel usage, custom memory management, the whole lot. So it's probably a good code base to actually learn more advanced Go from. So and I do enjoy Hannah's code, so it's good, but very taxing, which makes it interesting that now I'm back on JavaScript this week, doing updating the DAG API in the JS IPFS stack, which is pretty critical in the HTTP client, which a lot of people use to talk to a Go backend. So all the work that we did for IPLD Prime in Go IPFS, where we radically changed the DAG API to be much more intentional and clear about codec uses, which I'm really happy with the way that landed. That in Go IPFS, it really updated that stack to see IPLD code and IPLD codecs and IPLD data in the way that we as an IPLD team see it, rather than this funky in between place of not like sort of the ancient IPLD idea pre-IPLD. And so the DAG API in Go IPFS is really nice now. Well, it's nicer. And now the JS IPFS stack is completely out of sync. And so people are starting to report errors. Hey, this is not working anymore. When I upgraded my Go IPFS backend and it's all broken. So that's one of my tasks this week. And it's actually really comfy to be back in JavaScript after I've been in Go for many weeks now, and it's like being in a comfy sofa, comfy lounge. So that's my couple of weeks.
Thanks. I just reminded myself that I have an update. So there was a Rust multi-hash release with only a single change, but a breaking change. So if anyone is using the scale codec, this is now like properly supported. It was supported before, but now it does the thing correctly. So it's good, but it's breaking, but it's just the right thing now. So if you upgrade and you don't care about the scale codec, so it's even on a feature, so you can just upgrade and you will be fine. And there's another issue open, which I currently don't have the time to work on, which is getting a hasher by code. So there are a few ideas in the issue. So if you want to help, check the notes. That's all I have. So, Chris, do you have anything to talk about or questions?
Well, I apologize. The meeting dropped off my calendar, and I just now got around to putting it back on here. So I'm hoping to attend every 2 weeks again. So I apologize for that.
No worries. Cool.
I guess no real updates, but I am curious what the most recent advances are, and thinking about IPLD as always. But what's happened over the last 3 months? I don't know when the last time I was here.
So I would say the most things happen in the Go world, I guess. So there didn't anything happen in the Rust world, I would say. And JavaScript, not too much, I guess. But I think the other two are better to give a short summary of the past 3 months.
Most of the stuff that's moved forward has been on Eric's end. So Eric's spending much more time pushing it forward than the rest of us.
With help. There's been a lot of stuff that's improved in the Golang usability, especially. Somebody else has been pushing along the tools you can use to bind structs in Golang using reflection instead of the whole cogen monstrosity that I made last year. So it's much easier to use now. That's been a really big improvement. I don't know if you caught the beginning of this during this meeting, but I was talking about starting to produce a CLI tool. That's a fun adventure still in its early stages.
You know what?
I'm starting to make a CLI type tool for I want something that lets us live code. If somebody wants to give a presentation somewhere about here's what IPLD is and how it does and how it feels. Right now you'd have to write a bunch of code and have an IDE open on your screen share. And I want to have a gadget that's here's how you transcode JSON to DAG CBOR or something, and that sort of stuff. So I'm starting to work on a little side quest project for that. We'll see how it goes. I just dropped some other links in the bottom of the doc before I forget about them again too, of other stuff that community folk have been doing in JS that might be interesting to you folks. I don't know if you've seen this link. And I don't actually recognize the authors of this. Somebody wrote everything in JavaScript recently. That link in the doc there appears to have a data model and selectors and a lot of code. I've just given it a brief skim, but it looks very correct. And the file name is selectors.ts. So that might be fun.
They wrote a retrieval client with GraphSync and everything, and it's all sort of bundled into one thing. Yeah.
I don't know what reusability looks like in JavaScript. That's sort of beyond my pay grade in JavaScript comprehension, but it looks
I think everybody's admitting that this one is not reusable because it was they had a goal of making a Filecoin retrieval client, and they just then had to implement all the things. so it just all got done in one place, but maybe it's extractable.
yeah, I don't know. It looked like a lot to me.
Huh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so I see the other note in the docs about adding Rust libraries. I can totally do that. Yeah. So
Yay, please.
yeah, because like so certainly the Rust ecosystem is like and though it's actually really good because there's also like the whole question about the Rust IPLD and IPFS ecosystem, because there's different libraries and so on. And so basically I think probably 80% of the questions I get about Rust IPLD is about like, which repository should I use? So it's really good to have some documentation there. So yeah, I will do that. Anything else?
You guys done much work on any of the ADLs recently?
I haven't done much, but some other folks have. It's a bummer that Will isn't here to share with us this week. I think he's working really hard on unixFS v1 as an ADL in Golang. And he's got some cool new demos. I think he has ads of sharded file systems working at this point. I haven't checked in since his last push, but that is steaming along, so that's kind of cool.
Cool. Whatever happened with that hash, what was it? The dictionary one that Michael's all excited about. This was about a year ago, maybe. It wasn't a hash map. It was like you could use like a B tree on it, some kind of B tree. It didn't.
Yeah, it didn't quite get over the line. There was some sort of fatal things that were never solved, and Michael sort of moved on to other things, and that's been shelved for now.
Okay.
But I still find it very interesting. It's just there's this final problem of it's easy to attack. So got to solve that before it really is that useful. So.
Oh, I see. Too bad.
Yeah, no, it is too bad because there are a lot of use cases for that. But yeah, we don't have good enough reason to invest a lot of time in it right now compared to all the other things we've got to do. So that's the real problem.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, if anyone out there is interested in working on ADLs, I guess other people who might be watching this video later or watching the live stream or something, if you're interested in doing generic data structures in decentralized systems, which is what we usually mean when we say advanced data layouts, or ADLs for short, you should start a conversation with one of the people in this call, because we might very well be able to support somebody spending focused time on stuff like sharded maps and HAMPs and other forms of data structures. There's a bunch of work that we would love to see done. And I think it might be possible to do grants programs or something to support it if somebody out there wants to do this. The people in this call just run out of time constantly, but we would love to help somebody tackle it more. So, pitch done.
I have a question about something that we also wanted to tackle, but then haven't. So what's the most recent state of unixFS version 2? And what I mean by it is not like how like what we actually have, but like more like if I would, so because I actually thought about because of a different project, just do something, like just in my free time, just like tackle how would you do a unixFS like system today with the knowledge we have about like how we want IPLD to be and so on. So I want to because I of course could start from scratch, but we already have like bits and pieces there, and I want to do we have any place where are the most recent bits how we think things should be, or should I just search and find in our repos random bits and look whatever we have? because like what I remember is like what we talked a bit about was those like those flexible byte layout stuff, how you actually chunk things and so on. But what I recall, so I don't recall anything that we've talked about the actual like file system like semantics. Have we spent any time on that part, or haven't we at all?
I think we have some exploration report docs hanging around, but they were mostly punting. Like, whenever I was writing any of those, the main thing I was trying to do is describe how one could specify a variety of approaches to metadata rather than trying to pick one. So, but if you wanted to just spike something opinionated out and see how it works, then you can ignore all of that as much as you want, of course.
Yeah.
And then there's the question of the scalable directory layout stuff. Like, do we just reuse the unixFS HAMP stuff? Do we use the new one? Like, we didn't really go far down that rabbit hole. Acknowledging that we've got a lot of learnings from unixFS v1, but we also have a lot of newer opinions about how to do things better. So
yeah,
there's a lot of complexity that was never fully explored.
Yeah. So would like, but would the general idea be, is the HAMP the thing you would use for directories?
Probably, because one of the flaws of unixFS v1 is the switch point between HAMPed or no HAMPed. And that's really awkward, and it shows up in both the JavaScript and the Go stack, and incompatibilities between the two, and inconsistencies. And it'd be nice to iron that out completely, and maybe just say, yeah, it's all HAMPed, but maybe there's a way of doing a compact HAMPed for the simple case.
Yeah, so it would basically be a HAMPed for the directories and a flexible byte layout for the chunking of the files, because you can like chunk however you want them. And then you just need so I think like what I want even is not like a unixFS, but I just want to have a file directory abstraction. Yeah. I would say I don't need so the idea is not that I have like POSIX semantics or anything. It's just like more like if I want to have files and directories, how would I do it now, kind of thing. So yeah,
I think that's it. I think it's HAMPed plus flexible byte layout is our best answer right now.
Yeah. Okay.
I really would like to see the flexible byte layout done in as an ADL in IPLD Prime. It wouldn't be that hard, but it would be really interesting.
Yeah, +1. We have that whole spec, and as far as I know, there's not a single thing wrong with it, right? The strong form of praise that I emit. It would be really cool to see something be done with it.
And is the spec merged? In the repository?
Yeah, it's on the website.
I have no idea.
And we did a lot of iterations to tune it.
And then do we have any implementation of it?
There's a JavaScript one.
Okay. Cool.
I think it matches the latest spec, or it's close to. It's not using the schema language or anything like that. It's just sort of like a JavaScript implementation.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
But okay, because like I will, if I do it, I probably will do it in Rust, obviously. So, but cool. Yeah.
I think it's JSFBL. I think JSFBL. Michael's. Yeah. And it looks like it might use the latest schema, like the latest layout, anyway.
Cool. Then yeah. All right. Cool. All right. I think then, if there's nothing else, I close the meeting, and so goodbye, everyone, and see you all